Thus, tourism during 6 months of the year and agriculture in 9 months were the main means of survival. Other employment opportunities due to development and connectivity with the rest of the country all across the nation were denied to the youth of Kashmir. And here lies the genesis of the problem, in my opinion. I have no hesitation in saying that Kashmiris were not communal. They are not communal. The genesis of the problem is not communal. It was purely economic and later fueled by vested interests. The reaction of the Kashmiris to all the above was as emotional as it is to everything else. Thus, the troublemakers from within and mostly outside the country saw an opportunity to disturb this peaceful environment. Election manipulation led to disconnect, further fueled by lack of opportunities, and from then on it became a spiral where one thing leads to another. The troublemakers and the so-called militants were joined by bad characters, and it became both a political and a money-making business. Let us not forget that despite everything else, there is an element of drugs and the possibility of making real estate profits, which is a fact, ladies and gentlemen. When there was upheaval, there were huge profits to be made out of real estate vacated by migrants out of the valley. And locals took advantage of that and further encouraged that migration. These are my personal views, and I firmly believe in them, having been a close witness to a lot of these events. If tourism, development, connectivity, and good governance had flourished, all this would not have happened. I would like to add that I have continued to visit the valley in the worst of times, and I have continued to enjoy its beauty without a single threat, since I was not a threat to anybody. And at some point, troublemakers realized that disturbing tourists would only generate local ill will. Having said all this, I do believe that there is still hope. I have many friends there from both communities who continue to live and work there, and what we need is connectivity, development, and good governance. Terrorism replaced tourism, but the reverse is equally possible. The Kashmiri still has loyalty to India, for they know that tourism and consequently their well-being can flourish only through India. Thank you.
Straight from the heart, Mr. Mathur, straight from the heart. Very nice thoughts. I think what I take away from there is what I started with, that there are vested interests at work over there. People who want to kind of create unrest so that they can benefit from it, whether in the name of real estate or making money from all the development aid which comes in, and therein lies the reason why they do not want to let go of Kashmir probably. I'm provoking a thought process over here. So do you want to reflect on that?
I completely agree that the first part of the topic, of course, is that, shattered lives in the name of communalism has happened completely in Kashmir in every walk of life. It's affected generations of people. I think when I say, and I say it emphatically, that Kashmir solution from a perspective of region, that the Kashmir region which integrates Aksai Chin or integrates Skardu and Gilgit, and as it was a problem in 1947 when we said we will do a plebiscite, for example, I mean, that is history. That is not possible. However, when you look at it in the context of what are the other ways to solve it, obviously, great governance will get us there, because the youth of India, as he said just now, young people in Kashmir are no different from young people anywhere else in India. I mean, they're looking for progress for themselves. I don't see them as involved with religion as a divide. I don't see that as something which they're really completely seized with. India has done a fair bit of integration. And one thing which has obviously helped a great deal is that Pakistan has not been a great advertisement in the last 10, 15 years. So a lot of that has gone away from the youth. They don't look up to Pakistan as a great model to emulate or want to fall for. But yes, if you look at the recent past or last 4-5 months and the trouble that Kashmir went through because of the stone pelters, for example, they're politically provoked. It's because opposition has an advantage, a few vested interests have an advantage. So great governance, as Mr. Nitish Kumar has shown in Bihar, if it happens in Kashmir, I think you'll see the turnaround that you're talking about, that tourism will replace terrorism, because for anyone who's been to, and let me please ask the audience, how many of you, can you please raise your hands, have been to the Kashmir Valley, Srinagar?
In the last 5 years.
No, in the last any years, 20 years. You know, it's by far the most beautiful place in India. It's by far the most beautiful place. The tourist potential of the place is just enormous. And if you go past, say, 2 seasons of no violence, as we thought was happening 3 years ago, Kashmir can be a different place completely, because the economics of Kashmir Valley will take over and terrorism will go back. But the last 6 months have been extremely demoralizing, that something like the stone pelleting could become such a huge issue that we went back another 5 years. That's the delicate sensitivities of the politics and governance and opposition, etc.
If I may just add that, you know, this trouble is created by the few vested interests, as I pointed out earlier, and as you rightly said, people don't want good things to happen, and good will only happen if there's good governance, stability. And as I said, connectivity and opportunities in the rest of the country to the youth of the educated youth of Kashmir. Let me tell you that despite whatever we are witnessing in the last few months, our houseboats have still been full during the summer months. Tourists are going. I'm surprised to see that people here have not been there in the last couple of years, because tourism has boomed, and nobody touches a tourist. It's safe. I go there every year, twice a year sometimes. So I think it's also a psychological fear being created in the minds of potential tourists by the media, which sort of generates this kind of detachment from the valley. And so I think I just need to, by the way, there's one very interesting point. For 2 months in a year, there is no governance. That is when the government is being shifted to Jammu, and from Jammu back to Srinagar. They spend 2 months in packing the files, putting them in trunks, taking them on, loading them on trucks, and bringing them down to Jammu. And the reverse once the weather changes. I think it happens in the month of May and in September or October. I don't remember now. But there is no governance during these 2 months. And please do not forget that thing I pointed out about drugs. There is a high element of drugs which nobody would like to talk about, but I'd like to be frank here. There is some money to be made from the Kashmiri side of the border, the line of control side of the border, and that's where all the trouble is brewing. Real estate, drugs, etc., etc.
And of course, sex rackets, in which the chief ministers have been named also.
Sure.
So I'll say it as candidly as possible. But they say one man's terrorist is another man's patriot. But I fail to understand why people who actually have the interest of the people at heart, people like Gilani, are condemned, and people like the Abdullahs, who have been kind of corrupting the place for years, are given seats of power. Anyway, with that, I open the floor to the audience.